Hello, shalom, and greetings. I am doing something new. I'm actually driving, so I'm trying to be very careful. I'm just picking up something to eat. I decided to start telling a little bit of testimony about this day. This day, 16 years ago, lives in infamy for me. December 26, 2005 was a day that I will never forget. And the only reason why I'm sharing this story is because I've come to a point in my life where I have healed from a lot of trauma that has happened in my life. And this, by far, is probably one of the most traumatic experiences. I have a lot that I plan to share with others in hopes that I can help someone else heal, in hopes that the Most High uses me as an instrument to give Him the glory. Because if it wasn't for Him, I don't think I would even be here today after dealing with something this traumatic. So again, this day, 16 years ago, in 2005. Now the year 2005 was a heavy hitting year anyway. This year, that year was the year that Hurricane Katrina hit. So it already was a year that was like, oh man, this year just feels eerie. It was a very rough year. I know a lot of people lost loved ones and just was displaced, and they had a lot of PTSD, from that event. So that year was already rough. Now on December 26th, the day after Christmas, at that time I still celebrated Christmas. I celebrated with my mother early that morning, like 6 o'clock that morning, because she decided to get up and drive to Austin to spend the holiday with her brother and nieces. Now, this was a Sunday. So that day, I decided, okay, well, it's Christmas and it's also my dad's birthday. I'm going to go visit him at church, spend the night with my grandmother. And the next day, I knew my mom would be back. So the next day, Monday, December 26th, around 4:30, I called my mother. And I was like, hey, Mom. I was like, Mama. That's normally how I, hit her up. Mama, you on your way? What time you coming back to town? I just missed her. Like, that was my best friend, Not in the best friend way to where she let me do anything. Like, she still was a very hard disciplinary mother. And I was 20 at that time, and she still was very hard on me. But at the same time, she was very loving and understanding. And, I missed her. I was like, what's taking you so long? When are you coming back? And my daughter missed her. I had a 3-year-old daughter at the time, and yes, I was a teen mom. Like I said, I have a lot of stories, testimonies to tell. So, called her, and she told me she'd be on her way. They were out eating, and she would be headed back this way soon. Again, she went to Austin, Texas, and we were living in Fort Worth, Texas. So that's about a 2.5 hour, 3 hour max drive. So again, 4:30 ish, that I talked to her, and I waited at my grandmother's house, and around, like, I don't know, 10ish, 9ish or 10ish, I decided to drive home and wait for her there. Now, mind you, I'm calling her, and I'm like, man, let me call her and see where she is, because I can't wait till she get home and we can, maybe sit on the couch and watch a movie. And she didn't drive by herself. She had driven with her boyfriend together. He went to go meet family and all that. Very nice man. He was very nice and very sweet to my mother. And her phone kept going to voicemail. And I'm like, did she lose her charger? Why is she not answering the phone? Like, what is going on? And I left a voicemail. I'm like, Mama, I'm trying to call you. Where are you? Me and Trinity, that was my daughter. That's my daughter's name. We are at the house waiting on you. Come on. And after calling so many times, I decided to take a nap. And I had an uneasy feeling in my gut. I'm like, man, why am I having this type of feeling? Like, ain't nothing wrong with my mama. She all right. Why do I feel like this? So I took a nap. My daughter fell asleep, and I took a nap as well. And it's crazy because when I went to sleep, I saw images of a well-known funeral home here in Fort Worth. And I'm like, in my dream, I'm just dreaming about this funeral home. And I'm like, what in the world? So I woke up from that dream. I shook that off. I'm like, oh Lord, I don't know why I had that dream. And I called her again. She didn't answer. I called her boyfriend's phone. His was going to voicemail too. So I said, let me call my uncle and my cousins and see if maybe she just stayed. You know, maybe she decided to stay another night or something, and her phone was dead, or they was out having a good time. You know, I don't know. And I also thought, or maybe she got sick and went to the hospital, or maybe she had a warrant or something, and maybe she's in the jail or county jail. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of things of why she's not answering the phone and why she's not home. So I called them and they said, okay, well, we're gonna call around. They called me Tracy, we're going to call around and see if maybe she's at like some local hospitals. Maybe she got sick. Maybe she went to the ER, or, you know, we'll call the local jails and see what's up. I said, okay, you know, y'all just let me know what y'all find. You know, at this point, I am worried, but I'm trying not to let that worry consume me. So, a couple of hours go by, and it's like midnight, a little bit after midnight. And I get a call from my cousin, and she's like, wow, my heart just dropped just thinking about this. She's like, Tracy. And she had my uncle, her dad, on the phone. I was like, yeah, what's up? Y'all find mama? Said, Tracy, we found her. I said, okay, well, what is she doing? Like, why is she not answering the phone, and why is she not home? And they said, like, Tracy, you know, are you sitting down? Like, you know, where are you? I said, I'm sitting down, but like, you know, can you tell me where my mom is? Like, y'all dragging this. Can you just let me know what's going on? And she said, Tracy, we found Aunt Marilyn. They believe this is her. And I'm like, they believe it's her? Like, what do you mean? Like, has she lost her mind? Like, she don't know who she is? Like, what do you mean they believe this is her? And she said, Tracy, she is at a hospital in Temple, Texas. I said, okay, I can deal with her being in the hospital, you know, what I need to do to make sure she's okay. I was like, no, Tracy, she's in the morgue there at the hospital. They believe it's her. The reason why they can't for certain say it's her is because she doesn't have any identification on her. But she was in a bad accident, and we need to go down there and identify her body. I'm like, what? What did I just hear? What did I just hear? Like, seriously? My mama? I just talked to her. Like, there's no way. That's not her. That's not her. But I broke down. I broke down crying. And at that very moment, my daughter, she was still taking a nap. And she started screaming in her sleep. And I'm like, she having a bad dream? So I run upstairs to see what's wrong with her, and I pick her up and I'm hugging her. And she screamed, and then she went back to sleep. And I'm like, man, what's going on? You know, something supernatural. Like, what's going on? The Most High was moving, you know, showing me things and showing my daughter. So I called my dad, and I told him, well, I called my brother, my little brother. So it was only two of us. My mom had me and my younger brother, who's about 5 years younger than me. And I was 20 at the time, and he had just turned 16. And I was getting ready to have my 21st birthday, like 2 weeks, like literally in 2 weeks. And I go down, like I said, I go downstairs, I call my brother, And I said, where's Daddy? And he was like, Dad's not here. And I was like, can you call Daddy? He was like, what's going on? I said, Nick, I really don't want to tell you. I said, man, something happened to Mama. I said, man, Mama's dead. He's like, what? I said, yeah, Mama's dead. Like, she's gone. She was in a car accident. And we got to go down there to the hospital, to the morgue that she's at, to make sure that that's her. And this young man, like, was very calm. He was like, okay, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna call Daddy. We're gonna tell him, and we're gonna get through this. And I said, okay. So my dad, I finally talked to my dad. You know, again, I'm like, my emotions are all over the place. I'm probably screaming. I don't even remember. Like, all of that is really very blurry to me. I just remember him coming to pick me up and taking me to my grandmother's house. I get to my grandmother's house and I pull up and some of my cousins are already there and they meet me outside of my grandmother's house. Medea, that's what we called her. And she embraces me and hugs me and I'm crying. And we got ready, prepared to drive to where my mother was, to the hospital in Temple, Texas, which is like a halfway mark between Austin and Fort Worth. Just about, maybe. Yeah, kind of. And we get there, meet my uncle there at the hospital, and they take us down to the morgue to go and identify her body. My dad and my uncle, they go in first. And I hear them crying. And I'm like, this is her. Because they're crying, you know. It's got to be her. Like, so I'm like, I got to prepare myself. I got to be strong for my brother. So we go in. And they pull the sheet back. And there she is. That's my mommy. Laying there with a tube in her mouth. Lifeless. Beautiful still. Still very beautiful. But lifeless. I had never experienced anything like that in my life. And I looked at her hands and her nails were broken. She had beautiful hands and her nails grew kind of like mine. Mine, this nail just broke, but if you can see how long my fingernails, my natural nails grow, I get that from my mom. And her nails were broken. And to me, that image of seeing her nails broken, they were broken to where they were rigid. Like the edges were, it wasn't a straight break. You can tell that it was from something traumatic that had happened. And, you know, they made arrangements for the body to be taken back to Fort Worth, to the very funeral home that I dreamed about. And we went and had breakfast. You know, after talking to the clergy or whatever they have on staff. And my dad took us to go eat because, like, y'all need to eat, you know. I couldn't eat. Like, who could eat under those circumstances? But then we had to go to the junkyard, tow truck place, whatever you call it, to get her belongings out of the car. And y'all, when I say I saw that car, her car flipped about 5 times. And what's crazy, now listen to this. She was driving a Kia Sportage. I don't know if y'all remember the Kia Sportages back in the early 2000s. They were known to roll very easily. And that's what happened. Like, she rolled like 5 times. So we had to get her things out of the car. And you could see how badly damaged the car was. Her purse is still in there. That's why they couldn't identify her. We got her purse out and just got a few things out of the car. And there was like, I can't even say some of the things I saw. But the thing is, my mom survived the actual crash. Her boyfriend, and rest his soul, and I won't speak his name on here because I do not have permission from his family. He died on the scene. The other car that was involved, nothing, like they got a scratch on their car, like nothing happened to them. They care flighted my mom to that hospital where we went to go identify her, and on the way to the hospital, she passed away from internal bleeding. They couldn't stop the bleeding. They couldn't find it. And we got everything out of her car that we could and drove back to Fort Worth. And that was the most emptiest feeling I have ever had. I didn't know how to feel. Really, I was numb. And I'm like, what about everything we were going to do? I was getting ready to turn 21. She's like, I'm going to take you to get a margarita. I was excited about having my first real margarita. I was in college, and I'm like, I want her to see me graduate. I want her to see her granddaughter grow up. And then I'm like, man, my grandmother just lost her child. My uncle just lost his little sister. My aunt just lost her little sister. My other auntie just lost her best friend, her sister-in-law. My dad, even though they were divorced, he just lost, a woman that he loved at one point in time in life. They probably still love. Just because people divorce, it don't mean they, stop having love for them. They had children together, so it took me years. When I say years, to deal with her death, the grief, the stages of grief that I went through. Cut my arm, like I did cutting. I did that a couple of times. It did nothing. I was drinking, not drinking nothing heavy because I had just started drinking at 21. So I was just getting like a little wine from like the corner store or something. I just did not know how to deal. My church family, at that time, they were there, friends. Like, I would drive to her grave. I would drive to the apartment where she lived right before she passed, knowing she wasn't there. But I didn't know what to do. What do you do at 20 when you lose your mother, your mom, your mama, your best friend, your child's grandmother? But all praises to the Most High. He got me through it. I didn't lose my mind. Yeah, I had some illnesses. My body broke down. I got real sick. I had to take a little bit of time off from school. I went part-time. But I still graduated in the 4 years that I was supposed to. And I got a job. And, but every year, around this time, it's hard for me. Again, I no longer, celebrate Christmas. But it's still a hard time of year for me. Simply because it's a reminder, a constant reminder. The holidays is a constant reminder. But, I'm here today to say that the Most High is my strength. He saw me through that rough time. And I believe in order for me to give him glory, he took her, he saved her from this world, this wicked world that we're living in right now. This world is wicked. There's so much going on. Like, if my mom, I don't even want my mom here to see the mess that we're going through. No. The selfish me wants it here because who don't want their mama? But at the same time she's resting in shalom and peace. And I'm grateful for the almost 21 years that I had with her. Even though we went through some stuff. I'll tell y'all about that later. But I just want to say my mother, Marilyn Marie Watson Turner, was a great woman, a great mother, even though others may not think the same, I don't know. But I believe, I know she loved us. I know she loved the Most High, and she loved her children. She loved us. She loved her grandchild. So that's all I have for today. I just wanted to share this story with you all, and hoping that me sharing my story and how 16 years later I'm still here, and how that didn't break me. I just had to share that. I just had to share it. It was on my heart. Never shared it. I mean, I've written about it. I made websites. She had her own website, stories on Facebook. I typed it up in my story, but never gotten on camera to say my story, to give my testimony. So I hope this helps someone. And from here on out, I have a lot of testimonies that I need to share. The Most High told me I need to share how He's brought me out. He needs to get the glory from all of this. So all praises to the Most High. And I give Him all the glory and all the honor. And to everyone that is watching this, peace and blessings to you. And shalom.